Hello and welcome to today's webinar on moving auto parts to Great Britain from the European Union, delivered by the Cabinet Office's Border, Trade and Brexit Opportunities Unit. This webinar is part of a series of webinars being run over the next few months and is intended to give traders, in particular EU exporters and British importers, a simple step-by-step guide for how to export goods to Great Britain since the 1st of January 2022, following the introduction of new importing controls for moving goods into Great Britain. Just to go through some ground rules before we start, please can you put yourself on mute and keep on mute throughout the webinar with your camera turned off. Ask any questions that you may have in the QA or chat bar throughout the webinar, and we will publish a recording of this webinar alongside the slides after the session, along with a document setting out the answers to any frequently asked questions. Surveys on business readiness are now running. Please answer the short questions on our Slido on your browser or your mobile using the code that's available on the slides. So, what is changing for people moving goods between the EU and Great Britain? This slide shows the two key dates relating to auto parts coming into the country. The first changes have come into effect from the 1st of January 2022, and the second set are due to come into effect as of the 1st of July 2022. So since the 1st of January, full import declarations are now required. This includes the use of simplified procedures called Simplified Customs Declaration Processes. This is known as SCDP, and this is formerly known as CFSP. You'll be required to do this if you're authorised to do so. You'll also be required to complete the relevant payment of tariffs at import. The next set of changes are due to come into effect from the 1st of July 2022 onwards, and this will include entry summary declarations, which will be required on imports into Great Britain. This presentation will cover the processes and the border procedures required to move auto parts from the EU into Great Britain, with particular focus on the border requirements in Great Britain from the 1st of January 2022 and the 1st of July 2022 onwards. In this case study, we will be specifically looking at moving seatbelts from the Netherlands. It is important to note that GB ports or terminals receiving goods that are moving into Great Britain from the EU have the option to choose between two models for customs controls. The first model is the temporary storage model, which allows goods to be stored for up to 90 days at a government-approved facility before a declaration is made. And the second is the new pre-lodgement model, which was developed as an alternative for where border locations may not have the space or infrastructure to operate a temporary storage regime. In this example, the movement is a direct movement from the port of Rotterdam to an eastern port in Great Britain, and a temporary storage model is being used. The freight is also moving as unaccompanied RoRo. This slide introduces the three main people in our journey. Claire is the importer based in Great Britain. Claire is aware that there are now new border requirements and paperwork that will be required to import seatbelts from the Netherlands to Great Britain. Lucas is the exporter based in the Netherlands, and he sells seatbelts to Great Britain. Lucas has been exporting to Great Britain for a number of years. He is now aware that Great Britain has left the European Union, and as a result, there are now new border requirements and paperwork that he will need to complete. Dan is a driver and trailer operator for the haulage firm, which is based in the Netherlands. Dan will transport the trailer with the seatbelts from Lucas's warehouse to the port in Rotterdam. Chris is a driver and the trailer operator for the haulage firm, which is based in Great Britain. Chris will transport the trailer with the seatbelts from the port in Great Britain. In this example, we outline the changes that are required from the 1st of January 2022 and the final rule changes that will be required from the 1st of July 2022 onwards. So this slide shows a quick summary of the journey, which highlights the new importing changes. It begins in the Netherlands and finishes in Great Britain. From the 1st of January 2022, Lucas will make a combined EU export declaration. He will send an electronic copy of this to Claire and will ready the auto parts for Dan to collect. Claire will ensure that the GB import declaration is made. Dan will then collect the auto parts and deposit them at the Port of Rotterdam. The ferry operator will then bring the auto parts into Great Britain and ensure that they enter the temporary storage regime. Chris will then collect the auto parts from the port in Great Britain using the UCN provided by Claire. Chris will then take the auto parts to Claire's premises where she will receive the auto parts in Great Britain. Let's now move on to the step-by-step guide. Prior to the shipping of the goods, Lucas, the EU exporter, and Claire, the British importer, need to agree on the type of Incoterms that they will trade on. Incoterms are rules which set out everyone's responsibilities when exporting and importing. You can click on the link provided in the slides for more information when they're published online. In this example, Lucas will be responsible for and carry out the export procedures, and Claire will be responsible for and carry out the import procedures. Dan will deposit the goods at the port in Rotterdam, and Chris will pick up the goods at the port in Great Britain. Also to stress, in this example, the goods are not moving under transit. A link to more information on movements using transit is available in the slide pack. If you decide to use a customs agent to move your goods for you, you will need to agree their roles and responsibilities prior to shipping the goods. Claire will also need to apply for a GB Economic Operators Registration and Identification Number. This is known as an EORI number for short. An EU EORI number is needed when interacting with EU systems, and a GB EORI number is needed for when completing GB custom processes. An EORI number identifies who is importing or exporting the goods. To apply for an EORI number in the EU, you can go and check out the EU Commission website or click the link available within the slides. Lucas needs to apply for an EU EORI number. Lucas should speak to Claire to confirm that she has done this prior to the export. In general, most businesses will hire a company such as a freight forwarder or a customs agent to deal with the customs for them. Sometimes the company you use to transport your goods can also do the customs paperwork for you. In this example, however, Claire and Lucas decide to do the paperwork themselves. Dan's haulage company will need an EU EORI number to use the border and customs systems in the EU. Chrissy's haulage company will need a GB EORI number to use the border and customs system in Great Britain. In this case, Claire, the GB importer receiving the goods, is also the declarant, meaning that she is the person responsible for submitting the import declaration, as agreed with Lucas when they agreed their Incoterms. This means that in addition to a GB EORI number, Claire will need access to GB computer systems or software to submit her declarations. In this example, Claire will need access to the customs handling of import and export freight system. This is known as CHIEF. CHIEF is the GB computer system that records the import declaration when importing goods from overseas. Claire will access CHIEF either via an intermediary or via a third-party software known as a Community Systems Provider, or a CSP for short. The CSP is the entity operating the software, and this will be the CSP that's exclusive to the port. The CSP will send Claire's declaration electronically to CHIEF. Further information on this can be found within the link in the slides. It is also worth noting that CHIEF will eventually be replaced by the Customs Declaration Service, which will be known as CDS. To access CHIEF, Claire will need to apply using a C1800 form, which is available on gov.uk. She will need to include information such as her contact details, her EORI number, which community systems provider she'll be using, the badge allocated to her by the community systems provider, the port or location that her goods will travel through, and the entry processing unit number. It is important to note that there are costs associated with using this system, And again, many people do choose to use an agent to do this for them. Under the new trading rules, some EU and GB goods can be moved from the EU into Great Britain without having to pay tariffs. The rules of origin stipulate that only goods produced in GB or the EU benefit from the zero tariff agreement. So if your goods were made in another country, such as China, you would have to pay tariffs on them. If traders cannot prove that their product meets the rules of origin through the relevant paperwork, they cannot benefit from the zero tariff agreed with the EU. You can search for rules of origin on gov.uk for more information. Claire makes sure that Lucas's goods meet the rules of origin, and as Lucas's seatbelts are produced in the Netherlands, Claire can claim a tariff-free rate and won't have to pay tariff costs for moving the goods. You can check the tariff rates for different products at the web address on the slides. Please note that from the 1st of January 2023, products sold in Great Britain will need to have a UKCA, this is the UK Conformity Assessed marking. For more information on when and how to use this marking, please visit the link available in the slides or search UKCA on gov.uk. As Claire planned to take her seatbelt straight from the port before the goods arrive in Great Britain, Claire needs to submit a UK import documentation. Claire submits the import declaration via the CSP, which is linked to Chief, and will need to include the following information: the Customs Procedure Code, the Commodity Code, the Declaration Unique Consignment Reference, this is known as the DUCR. The DUCR is the main reference number that links the declaration in the Chief system. As mentioned, Chief will later be replaced by CDS. The DUCR is produced from the importer's commercial records and must be in a defined format. Further information on this can be found in the link available within the slides. Claire also needs to provide information such as the departure point and destination, the type, amount and packaging of your goods, the transport methods and costs, the currencies and valuation methods, as well as the certificates and licenses. Once the import declaration has been completed, an entry reference number, an ERN, is then produced in Chief. The ERN has now been produced and Claire will need to ensure that she keeps this reference. This will be needed to release the goods when they arrive at the port in Great Britain. Please note that the entry reference number is a customs identification number that's created each time a declaration is submitted for importing or exporting goods. The number generated is bespoke, allowing your goods to be uniquely linked to you. As Lucas has submitted a combined export and safety and security declaration and has an export accompanying document, a separate exit summary declaration will not need to be submitted on the member state export control system. If a combined export declaration and safety and security declaration had not been submitted, a separate export summary declaration would be required. As just highlighted, Lucas will need to submit a merged exit summary declaration and an export declaration in the Dutch export system AGS. This may be accompanied by an export accompanying document, which includes the movement reference number. On the export declaration, the Netherlands will be shown as the country of export and the country of exit from the European Union. Lucas lists the port of exit as Rotterdam. It is important that Lucas lodges his export declaration in the Netherlands, the country where he is based, because this is the country where his company is VAT registered. Lucas has now submitted the export declaration and has sent an electronic copy to Claire. This means that Dan can now collect the auto parts from Lucas's premises in the Netherlands and take them to the port of Rotterdam. Dan collects the goods and the haulage company ensures that he has all the relevant documentation. Before Dan transports the goods to the port, he will need to ensure that he has a booking reference number from the shipping company. For this, he will use port base and the movement reference number for Lucas so that he can provide this to the shipping company, and this will be linked together with his booking number when he arrives at the port. Meanwhile, in Great Britain, Claire has supplied and recorded information such as the arrival time, weights, the commodity code for temporary storage, and the port of arrival via the inventory linked system. The link to the inventory linked system can be found within the slides. Claire ensures that the booking accurately reflects the pre-launched entry, for example the packages and weights, and sends the information to Chris, the GB trailer operator. The trailer ID and the movement reference number, or movement reference numbers if there's more than one shipment on the trailer, is sent by the terminal operator, and the export declaration is paired to the trailer with the seatbelts in port base. Port base then sends the exit confirmation to Dan and sends a message to the Dutch customs after the ferry has departed the port. This action discharges the exports on board. Finally, the trailer with the seatbelts departs the port on the vessel. So now the goods are ready to leave the Netherlands at the port in Rotterdam. Dan delivers the goods to the port and communicates the booking number. After the seatbelts have left the port and are on the vessel, the export manifest will then be transmitted to the inventory linked system. This will form the temporary storage declaration for the consignments. A unique consignment number, a UCN, is automatically created in the CSP from the data in the ferry operator's manifest. An on hold status will then be sent to all units aboard the vessel. The vessel has now arrived in the port in Great Britain. Claire links the unique consignment reference number with the entry reference number to Chief. A goods arrived message is then sent via the community systems provider to Chief. As Claire has pre-lodged the customs declaration for the seatbelts, this means that they can be collected after arrival at port in Great Britain. If Claire had not done this, the seatbelts would then go into temporary storage for up to 90 days. Any border force inspections are advised automatically from Chief to the community systems provider. Manual holds can also be placed. This means that border force can place holds locally manually via the inventory system. For example, if there is intelligence to suggest an inspection is needed. HM government and port staff are also able to place manual holds on goods for non-customs or safety reasons, for example, non-payment of port fees. Please note that all goods must be presented within 3 hours of arrival of the vessels to customs. Claire will receive permission from HMRC to remove the goods via the CSP. Once Claire has received this release note, Chris can then collect the goods and take them to Claire's premises in Great Britain. Please note that Border Force or the National Clearance Hub may request further detail. As mentioned, this movement is unaccompanied RoRo, so depending on the port of entry, some GB ports will require the use of the Goods Vehicle Movement System, called GVMS, if you want goods to be cleared at the port quickly. As outlined earlier, the auto parts may be subject to documentary or physical inspection. Chris will be made aware if checks are required. As Chris's haulage company is the company associated with the consignment of the seatbelts, the CSP will send a notification directly to Chris if any checks are required. Claire, as the agent who claimed the unit, will also receive inventory updates on her consignment of seatbelts. In this example, the auto parts are not selected for any inspection, and this means that Chris can now drive to Claire's premises and deposit the goods. Chris can now drive to Claire's premises and deposit the goods in Great Britain. Since auto parts meet the rules of origin in the Trade and Cooperation Agreement, Claire will not have to pay any customs duty. The goods, however, are still liable for import VAT. Chris has now delivered the goods successfully to Claire at her premises in Great Britain. Chris does not need to take any further action. As Claire has received the seatbelts, she can now make any updates in Chief that are necessary. For example, if the time of import has changed compared to the pre-notification that she had previously submitted. The declaration must be updated to arrived by the end of the working day following the day on which the goods arrived in Great Britain. Since the 1st of January 2022, Claire may now find simplified declarations useful for making import declarations. To use them, her GB EORI would need to be approved for the Simplified Customs Declaration Processes, known as SCDP, or Claire could appoint an agent that is authorised for this before the goods are imported. Claire would make a simplified frontier declaration or an entry into declarant's records at the time the goods are imported, and follow this up with a supplementary declaration which would need to be completed by the 4th working day of the month following the date of the import. In order to be approved for the simplified customs declaration processes, Claire must have a good compliance record as well as a duty deferment account. Further information is available on gov.uk. The tariff rates show you the rates of duty import you should pay for goods. Prior to the import, Claire checked and confirmed that this is a zero tariff journey. Tariff codes can be found within the link in the slides. In addition to tariffs, all goods imported into Great Britain incur VAT. The standard rate of VAT in the UK is 20%. However, VAT rates will differ on different goods and services. To check the VAT rate for the products that you are importing, please click the link available within the slides. Claire is VAT registered and so can use postponed VAT accounting to account for import VAT. Import VAT on imported goods is normally charged at the same rate as if the goods had been supplied in Great Britain. Auto parts attract VAT at a 20% rate, which will have to be accounted for on this import. For any imports where VAT needs to be paid, this will be paid on Claire's VAT return that covers the date of import. Further information can be found in the link in the slides. Alternatively, Claire, having registered for a duty deferment account, may also choose to use postponed VAT accounting to account for import VAT. This means that if she imports goods regularly, she can make one payment a month through a direct debit instead of paying for each individual consignment. Claire has now received her goods and completed all the relevant actions. This means that the seatbelts are now in free circulation in Great Britain. So these next few slides show a checklist of the actions each person will need to complete for the movement of goods. First, Lucas, the Dutch exporter, will need to ensure that he has an EU EORI number. He will need to agree the terms and conditions with the British importer that they will trade on. He will need to submit the export declaration to the Dutch customs system, and he will need to provide a statement of origin for rules of origin purposes. Next, Dan, the Dutch trailer operator, will need to ensure that his haulage company has an EU EORI number. He will need a booking reference number for the shipping company, and he will need the movement reference number from Lucas. Chris, the GB trailer operator, will need the movement reference number in order to collect the goods from the GB port, and he will also need to ensure that his company has a GB EORI number. Claire, the British importer, will need to ensure that she has agreed the type of Incoterms that she will trade on with the EU exporter. She will need a GB EORI number. She will need to register for a duty deferment account. She will need to check that the goods meet the rules of origin. She will need to check tariff rates for the goods. Check on gov.uk that the goods are compliant with the EU labelling and marketing rules. And she will need to submit the import declaration using Chief. So this slide contains a list of useful links for you to get more information about what you need to do to be ready for the new border control changes. As mentioned at the start of this presentation, we will be publishing these slides for you to read through and check the links out at your own convenience. This will either be shared with you after the event via email or will be published on gov.uk. So thank you for listening to today's presentation. We hope that you've found it useful. We'll be taking away any of the questions from the chat and will publish the answers to the most frequently asked questions in a document to either view online on gov.uk or that will be circulated after the event via email. As mentioned, the slides will also be available online too, so you can download and click the links in your own time. This will be available alongside a recording of this webinar. Again, thank you for listening. Goodbye.